What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to review As Dusk Falls. Now, I want to make it very, very clear right in the beginning of this video that Microsoft did provide me a code of this game. That's not obviously going to change anything, and I am surprisingly very happy to say I enjoyed this game quite a bit. There are issues. There's issues that I expected. There's issues I didn't expect, and as the game went on, I was like, ooh. So there are things that are negative, but I would overwhelmingly say this game is much better than I thought it would be, and this game is absolutely worth your time if you're into these things. And what are these things? Well, it's basically an episodic game that's non-episodic. There's 6 chapters. Really, there's 3, and that's called Book 1, and then there's the other 3, and it's called Book 2, and I do have some weaknesses with that we'll talk about, but overall, that's what this game is. It's an episodic game, right? Each chapter is about an hour long, so you're looking at around 6 hours. I think it was a little less. I think chapter 4 was pretty short. It was maybe like 45 minutes, so it probably will take you five and a half, 6 hours to beat this game, but it's a lot of fun to play with people. So you can play this game single player. You can play this game with up to 8 people. You can play this game with controllers, which is what I did. I played with my wife and my sister-in-law, or my wife's sister. So we played it together, all 3 of us on Xbox controllers. You can also play it with an app on your phone, much like the game Hidden Agenda, if you guys played Hidden Agenda, which I actually quite liked that game. So you can play up to 8 people. I really think that helps this game because it just kind of adds that dynamic of people choosing their own decisions, and you don't have to choose the same thing, and you can get deadlocked where you're tied in a decision and the game just randomizes the choice, right? It'll just say, well, we'll pick from that. You can override people's choices if you feel strongly about something. Now, I have a weakness with that. We'll talk about that, but you can override, and you can say, well, I don't like the choice that, if my wife and my sister-in-law pick something, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm overriding and doing my choice. So there's a lot of, player choices, and then in terms of choices and outcomes, this game has a lot of it. This game has multiple branches. They show it to you at the end. Very almost like Detroit Become Human, but it's pretty advanced. I mean, you get to see every decision and where it leads you to the next thing. And this game has something pretty special and pretty unique, I think, at least from what I've seen, where you can literally go back and you could just replay the decision. So if there was like, say, 20 decisions in a chapter and you wanted to replay decision 3 just to see what the other choice would have been, you can do that. You can literally go back and just play it just to see what the other outcome is. I really like that. I really, really like that. So what is this game? Well, it's a game of a couple different games, really, and I think this game is the strongest in chapters 1 through 3. I'm not going to spoil almost anything, so we're going to have to keep kind of story elements, quiet. But basically, the first 3 chapters involve a lot of characters all together, and it involves basically a kidnapping situation, let's say, at a motel. That's what the first 3 chapters is about, overwhelmingly. There are a lot of other dynamics, a lot of the characters. There's twists with the characters. There's flashbacks, so they go back in time, and they go back to the present, and you play sometimes as 2 different characters. I think actually all 6 chapters, you play 2 different characters in that chapter, and so they each have their own trees. So there's that. But the first 3 chapters, I think, overwhelmingly are incredibly good. Incredible, like actually astonishingly good, where I was like, wow, I can't believe how good this game is. All right. Now, one thing I do want to talk about is the visuals. The visuals is something that was so off-putting to me, and I made it very clear, although they gave me the code, but I've always made it very clear that the visuals aren't, my thing. They don't jive with me. I don't think you can get the emotion and stuff from them. I was kind of right, and I was also kind of wrong. The visuals still don't work. I played the entire game, start to finish. The visuals still, I would have preferred something different, all right? I don't necessarily like it, but with that being said, does it take away from the performances of the characters? No. Can you still feel emotion? Can you still feel tense? Can you still feel whatever emotion the game is going for at the given time? Yeah, you actually can. So that is the surprising nature of it to me, is I still am not a big fan of how the game looks, and I think you could have done it even as like a Telltale, more like a, like a comic-y, like a little blocky kind of style. You could have done it like that, and I think would have been perfectly fine. But I'm actually, again, surprised that it didn't get in the way. It really didn't. It almost became, and I honestly believe this, my sister-in-law actually said this, within the first chapter, you get used to it. You may not love it or like it, but you at least get used to it, where it's like, all right, I'm going to put up with it, and I'm just going to play the game, and I'm going to really enjoy it because the game is absolutely awesome. This game has tense moments. This game has amazing really, the characters in this game are very good. The writing in this game is very good. The decision making in this game is very good. The choices that the decisions will eventually lead you is very good. All right, the game holds itself up, although the visuals try to take it down a bit. So I really want to stress that if you've been worried about the visuals, yes, I'm just one person, but honestly, for me, I didn't love them. Still, at the very end of the game, I was like, I wouldn't have done that myself, but I put up with them, and I don't think it took away from the rest of the game. The rest of the game can hold up. Now, here's another thing I do want to say in terms of weaknesses, but also positives. The first 3 chapters, or the first book of this game, again, is very, very good. The second one really goes off the rails to me. It's not bad. I wouldn't say the chapters 4, 5, 6 are bad. They still have great performances. They still do have tense moments. They still have really good decisions. They have good character relationships. Like, there's a lot to like in those. They are just literally all over the place. The game, in my opinion, the game wanted to tell almost 2 different stories and then loosely connect them to it. Does that make sense? And without spoiling it, the first 3 chapters is a hostage, kidnapping situation. That's the first 3 chapters. Again, there's other stuff there, but that's the general idea. Then the other 3 chapters is about trauma and being on the run, life on the run. That's the and they really don't connect all that well, because some characters get completely forgotten. There are loose ends that they almost entirely forget about, where it's like, well, are you gonna go back to this character? Or are you just gonna let them go? That happens multiple times. So it is weak. The second half of this game is definitely a lot weaker than the first half. I would say in general it is weak, just period. But again, there are a lot of strengths, and I'm not getting mad at myself for playing the second half. Does that make sense? I still feel the second half was worth it. It is still held up by performances. I get what they were trying to do. I like some of the themes they were playing with. Some of the story elements were good. It just was so different. And I don't know if you could have stretched out. I guess what I'm saying is, could you have stretched out chapters 1 through 3 if you wanted to make it 6 chapters, 6 hours long? The first half of the game is so good, and it's 3 hours. Could you have stretched that to 6? Answer is probably no. So again, I get it, because the answer is probably no, but it did feel like they were trying to tell 2 different stories, and it didn't really work. The connecting links were incredibly weak. And again, if you can get by that, which I will, I'll just say that, right? If you can get by that, then I think it's fine. In terms of, the controls and the gameplay mechanics, again, I actually think they're really, really good. They do feel tense. They do put you into it. Now, again, I played it with 3 people. You can play it with up to 8. Sometimes you'll all have to do an action together. So you'll have to, go in a circle with the analog stick. You'll have to swipe up. You'll all have to do that in one go. Sometimes, if it's like you're trying to do multiple things, or the character's trying to do one big thing, but it takes a couple steps, it'll give you each job. So it'll go, okay, well, my wife, she'll have to do something, then I'll have to do something, then it'll go back, and it is pretty tense. Now, I don't know how it's gonna work, how it does work on your phone. I imagine you do similar, kind of mini games, mini activities, just really, really quick things with your phone. But that's how it works with the controller, with the analog sticks. I like it. I thought, and I did say this, I think, in my kind of preview of this game. Are they gonna get in the way? Because this game is very atmospheric. The game is very focused on the visuals and putting you right in. If you have all these prompts to do and all these word decision choices, is that going to get in the way? And the answer again is no. Nothing really gets in the way. This game stands or falls on its own, on its characters, on its story, on its, all that stuff, on its decision making. I found no problems whatsoever in the choices. Sometimes there's games where it'll say something, you click that dialogue choice, and your character will just say something wildly different. This game doesn't have that. I felt that the characters said what I felt they were going to say when you click it. Decisions, big decisions that you're making felt organic. It's not like they were forcing anything. Again, the biggest thing to me is, as the game went on, it forgot things of the past. There's a scene, I'm not going to say because of spoilers, but there's a scene that a character, let's say, is reliving. And that character wasn't actually there when that scene happened. That character, and there was a choice I made, or we made, in the game. So it's hard to explain without going into spoilers, but the game assumed something happened to a character, but that character wasn't there when it happened because I chose a different option. So the game like inserted that on it. So there's weird stuff like that. Again, the game ends on a, let's say, a cliffhanger, which was very odd to end the game like that. Again, it goes through a couple different things in like chapters 5 and 6 to try to tie up loose ends, but it kind of forgets about several characters and it kind of circles back to them at the end. There are weaknesses, and I guess to finish off, I would say this. I guess I'm focusing so much on the weaknesses of the second half because I am astonished with how good the first half is. I'm not joking when I say the first half of this game is like phenomenal. It is. I don't know if it's like a masterpiece or a perfect or, a 10 out of 10, but the first half, if you can get by the visuals, which again, you do quite quickly considering everything else is firing on all cylinders, it's such a good game. And then like chapter 4 hits and it's like, okay, well, it's taking you on a completely kind of different adventure and it just doesn't work nearly as well as the first. So the first half being so good almost hurts the rest of the game. It's like, well, why did you do the second half in the first place? And, I kind of quickly realized, and I just would throw this out there, and I'm saying this even like to the developers, when I was playing this game and the way that it is, it's like a TV show. It's got like an opening thing. It says like as dusk falls in the beginning of every chapter. There's like a really quick, maybe like 20-second recap where it starts. The chapter 2 starts with the last 20 seconds, say, of chapter 1. Okay, so it's like a TV show kind of thing. It really felt like this game should have been episodic. And I know that episodic games are going this way, like Life is Strange True Colors. You can play it episodically, or you can just play the entire thing, but it came out as one package. This game feels the same, but actually this game kind of feels a little bit more different, where it really feels like this game was meant to be like weekly episodes almost that you put out on the Microsoft Store or whatever, and you do it. It felt like it should have been that, and it wasn't. It was all one thing together. So that doesn't like change anything about it. It just is like, well, that's kind of odd that they decided to put. Maybe they didn't have confidence that it would do well throughout it. This way, if you get the game, you have a better chance, I would say, of getting through all 6 chapters versus if you bought it episodically. Maybe by the time you get to chapter 6, 80% of the fan base is gone. So, like, why would you even have made a chapter 6, right? Those are things I'm sure they probably considered. So, again, I don't do scores. I don't do that. It's just not my thing. But I will say this game is absolutely worth it. It's free on Game Pass. I mean, there really is no barrier of entry. The barrier of entry is if you like what you've seen so far in the trailers. And again, I would just kind of, I guess, float it out there. I would say focus on the more positives that you liked in the trailer versus the negatives, because the positives do outshine the negatives. And again, the things I was complaining about is not really the visuals, right? What we spent like 2, 3, 4 minutes talking about were not visuals being the weaknesses. The game has its weaknesses and also has its positives. The visuals, you kind of just learn to accept whether you like or hate. I'm not docking points, even though I don't give points. I'm not docking anything really for the visual style at all. It was a weird choice. I would never have done it. I wouldn't recommend it for other games to do it, but it was definitely unique. Definitely unique, definitely different. So I recommend this game fully, easily. I would even recommend it at full price if you want to like buy the game, if you don't get it free for Game Pass. If you're playing this with multiple people, by the way, the game I think will easily still stand if you play it alone. Okay, easily. There is just another kind of dynamic when you're playing it with other people, and again, you can override choices. Overriding, by the way, is a little odd. I don't know why they did overriding. When you override, the other player can still override you. They really should have stopped it, where if you override a choice, that's final. Because I could override a choice, then my wife could say, nope, I'm overriding your choice, and we can actually go back and forth till we run out, because you only have certain overrides per chapter. I don't know why they did it like that. They kind of took away from what overriding is, but there is that extra dynamic when you're playing with other people that you're going to pick decisions that maybe you yourself wouldn't have done because you get outvoted, right? And that's something special to games like this, and I think it works for this game. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on. We can definitely do more videos on this game as this week goes on. If you want me to, let me know in the comments. If you guys want to follow or support me anywhere else, all my social media is in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.